Isaac Newton, famous English scientist, Annie Marie Sullivan, and Mario Evangelista. Who is this boy in the window, and what is he doing? He has wonders to show you if you let him. Fantastical toys, lifelike models, even the secret behind the falling apple. He is not a toy maker or magician. However, he is a scientist, one of the greatest scientists who ever lived. He is Sir Isaac Newton, or at least he will be when he grows up. With his playthings, he unlocked the secrets of the universe and set scientists on the path they are still traveling today. On Christmas morning in 1642, a boy named Isaac Newton was born on a farm in south of England. His mother's name was Hannah. His father died before he was born. When Isaac was 3, Hannah married another man and asked Isaac's grandmother to take care of him. Isaac missed his mother and thought that she did not love him anymore. He felt angry. Sometimes he dreamed about killing his mother's new husband and burning their house to the ground, but nobody noticed Isaac's angry feelings. Feeling like nobody cared, he began to spend most of his time alone in his room. He was very quiet, barely speaking to anyone. Almost the only noise he ever made was the banging of hammers and the rasping of saws, too busy with their own lives to notice. His mother and grandmother didn't see that Isaac had a very special gift. His hands were very talented, making all sorts of wondrous things from wood. Not only could he make everyday useful things like tables, chairs, and bookcases. From his hands also sprang miniature carts and coaches that looked like and worked just like real things. Listening to the rackets this lonely boy made in his room, no one could guess that one day his gift would help him change the world. Starting school didn't relieve Isaac's unhappiness. At 7 years old, he was smaller than the other children who were mean to him. He didn't like the same things they liked. He stumbled over his schoolwork. His classmates laughed at him and bullied him, giving him the name Stupid Newton. Isaac pretended not to care, spending his time watching the world. Around him, in nature, he found a better teacher than any he'd met in the classroom. Stupid Newton was learning things his school books didn't mention. Stupid Newton was learning things his school books didn't even mention. Even though Isaac was quiet and pretended nothing bothered him, inside his feelings were boiling over. One day he had had enough. It was much like every other day. One of his schoolmates was tormenting him and calling him names. But this time Isaac couldn't hold the embarrassment, pain, and anger inside a moment longer. He exploded, punching and kicking the boy until he cried for mercy. Maybe he taught that boy a lesson, but it was Isaac who learned the real lesson that day. He saw that he didn't have to let people bully him. He could fight back. And if he wanted people to stop calling him stupid, Isaac knew he was going to have to try harder in school. If I hadn't had that fight, I might never have been more than a carpenter, Isaac said many years later. This sundial Isaac made when he was 9. Sundials tell time from different positions of the sun. When he was 12 years old, Isaac changed schools, going from the King's School at Grantham. Grantham was some distance from his house, so he stayed with friends of his family who lived near the school. He was away from the farm where he was born for the first time in his life. The world suddenly seemed much bigger to Isaac. All of the anger he had been holding inside poured out of him, exploding into passionate curiosity. Why? He asked all day long. Why do the birds fly? Why do the windmills turn? To answer his endless questions, Isaac read everything he could, did experiments, and built complicated models to find out how the windmills work. He built a model copying a real windmill in the neighborhood. It not only looked exactly like the real thing, it ground corn too. As he watched his model windmill turn, Isaac began wondering about the power of the wind. How could he learn about something he couldn't see, hold, or measure? Of course, a kite. It was an everyday toy. He had played with kites himself. But now his mind looked at them in a new way. By flying a kite, he could measure the wind's strength and tell how fast it was going at different heights. Kites had never been more fun. He made them in all sizes, shapes, round, square, diamond-shaped. He wanted to discover which one would fly the best. At night, he attached lanterns to the kite tail so he could see them. His neighbors saw the lights in the sky too. They thought they were comets, which they thought were signs of bad luck. They were frightened. Newton's name was carved in wood. Like many students do, Newton carved his name into the window at school. This signature is held today by the Royal Society. Isaac's life was turning into a new direction. He was now one of the best students in his class. When he was 15, his mother took him out of school so he could manage the family farm. Once again, Isaac was out of place. He cared more about science than farming, and his mind was always wandering. So were the pigs and the sheep he wasn't paying attention to. They got loose, trampling in his neighbors' fields and eating their crops. His mother found herself paying for the neighbors' ruined grain and vegetables more often than she liked. One day, word spread throughout the neighborhood that a big storm was coming, and everyone scrambled to bring the animals inside and save whatever crops they could from damage. Everyone but Isaac. He also ran out into the raging winds. Ignoring animals and fields, he jumped this way and that, experimenting with the wind's force and direction. First, Isaac jumped forward with the wind blowing on his back. Then, he faced the wind and jumped into it. Of course, he could jump further with the wind on his back. He and the wind were going in the same direction. Isaac measured how far he could jump each way. The difference told him how strong the wind was, in which direction it was blowing. Kites, which seemed like a simple child's toy, are the main instrument that Newton himself experimented with. That did it for his mother. She decided it was better to let her son be a great student than a terrible farmer. She allowed Isaac to return to King's School, where he worked harder than ever. At school, Isaac found new strange feelings inside himself. The man who owned the house where Isaac was staying had a stepdaughter about Isaac's age. They spent hours together making tiny furniture for her dollhouse. Isaac began to fall in love with her, but he was very shy. He still remembered the teasing and the cruel laughter of his old schoolmates. He was afraid to tell this girl how he felt, so he never did. She was his first and only love. He never fell in love again and never married. In 1661, Isaac was given an exciting new opportunity. He entered Cambridge University, a famous college with a huge library, some of the best teachers in the world. Going to Cambridge was like discovering the keys to the treasure chest brimming over with knowledge. It was a wonderful chance for the farmer's son, but he had to work hard for it. At the time, few people went to college. Most of the students at Cambridge came from very wealthy families. Isaac paid for his education by working as a servant. He served meals, ran errands, and cleaned his room for teachers and older students. Studying and working as a servant at the same time made Isaac's life very busy. He didn't care. He was so happy to be learning that he buried himself in books whenever he could. He read everything he could find that was written by men like Descartes and Galileo, great scientists from the past. Isaac dreamed of following their footsteps. Even though he was spending so much time with his books, Isaac never stopped watching the world around him and wondering. He still asked, why? At every step along the way. One day he was wandering the streets of Cambridge. He passed a piece of glass. A glint of light caught his eye. It turned out to be a prism, a piece of glass that casts tiny rainbows when the light shines through it. His curiosity, excited, he brought the prism and raced home with it. After many experiments, Isaac understood that the ordinary light, which looks colorless or white to us, is actually made up of all the colors of the rainbow. The prism splits the light into stripes of violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Since the beginning of time, people had been looking at rainbows, but no one knew where they came from. Light had been all around, every day from sunrise to sunset, but no one knew much about it. When Isaac unlocked the secret, the other people began to wonder. Why? They asked themselves. What am I really seeing? Looking at the light in a new way led to more discoveries. Many of the things we use today would not exist if Isaac had not have asked why. Without Isaac's discoveries, the world would still look fuzzy to people who needed eyeglasses or contacts. There would be no powerful telescopes uncovering the mysteries of outer space. Scientists would not have microscopes to show them all those tiny things that human eyes can't see without help. Isaac graduated from Cambridge in 1665. If you want to learn more about Sir Isaac Newton, I highly suggest asking your parents. Until next time, bye.